Hey guys, this is Shreyas, one of the co-hosts of the Unattached podcast and currently editing said episode that you guys are watching right now. So just wanted to clarify a couple things very quickly. So when we recorded this episode, we had a bit of a time crunch, some scheduling issues. We wanted to get Ben in before he had to resume his coaching duties. So we did this over winter break before the new year actually began. So that said, with all those scheduling issues, one of our co-hosts, Tyler, he had to leave pretty early on, and so he also joined in the podcast a little bit late. So because of that, there may be a little bit of disjointedness in the way that you hear the podcast, because we clipped in some of the earlier discussion later. I tried to make it as seamless as possible, but I just wanted to let you guys know that there could be a couple of harder cuts, or there could be conversation where it sounds like we're referencing something that happens in the past when you guys will simply just hear it later. And it's also the same reason why in the outro you guys will hear Tyler saying bye at the end, even though for about the last half hour of the podcast he's not available. So just wanted to put that in there. Otherwise, enjoy the podcast. Please, if you could, listen to it. We have the links in the description for Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, so on and so forth. And we'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Peace.
So have you heard the podcast before?
Yeah, I've listened.
Nice. What do you think?
Well, it's fun to listen to. I'm not much of a podcast guy.
And then, so I had, so now that Tyler is actually here, but do you guys want to do the actual intro so that I can clip this in and stuff?
Yeah.
Because we could just make this entire podcast one giant cold open and then intro at the end, but
yeah, let's just cold open. Let's just outro the show with a cold open.
yeah, exactly. All right, fire it away, Spencer, whenever you're ready.
Welcome to another episode of the Unattached podcast. I believe this is episode 10. I'm Spencer Mahon.
I'm Shreyas Sriram, and Tyler's muted.
Again.
This is a running joke here, so I guess we'll move on to our guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
I'm Tyler Bowman.
Howdy, everyone. I guess that's my thing now is that I say howdy. So my name's Ben BARROWS. I'm the YouTube dude, the guy with the YouTube running channel, and that's about it.
I like how you say that as though you're not the one with the most clout in here right now.
I mean, he is right. Shreyas is right.
Yeah.
Ben is also right. He is the YouTube running dude.
The YouTube running dude. We got to put respect on the name.
Big facts.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm impressed how Tyler's still continuously muted. This is just funny at this point.
I'm not.
Then how'd you miss the intro?
I wasn't. Oh well, I was muted then.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought.
Wait, how long ago was that?
A good minute.
45 seconds.
Oh, I didn't even have my headphones on. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
We are is being muted regardless.
Yeah.
I was busy getting something to eat.
All right. So would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
I'm Tyler Bowman.
Hell yeah.
Are you gonna cut that in there?
Well, I'll cut it in there after I say and Tyler is muted, and then leave the rest of this.
Oh yikes.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't think it's gonna work that hard of a cut, because this is still gonna be a mess to edit either way.
Sounds like it.
Indeed. But yeah, so I guess we'll kind of go through our stuff, because just go over our running backgrounds, because this is probably going to be the first one that'll get a lot of views, given that we have Ben's clout to help carry us right now. So Tyler, do you want to kick it off with your stuff?
Absolutely not.
Oh, come on.
Boo.
It's the Goldilocks thing.
Okay, so you want my running background?
Well, yeah, I mean, just whatever you did. Come on, Tyler, introduce yourselves to the 10 more people we're gonna get out of this. Actually, I'm definitely underestimating Ben's value here. It's probably
I don't know about that.
I don't think you are. It is just a podcast after all. And it's not like he's starting his own. Well, I ran track 1 year in high school.
What did you do?
Was it. What events?
Yeah.
I did the 800 and the mile.
Okay, so you were the fast boy then, because you also did wrestling, right? So that's the way it worked out for you.
I did in middle school.
Ah, okay. Then I guess I just misheard the entire conversation with Bruce when we had that.
Yeah, no, I almost did my freshman year, but I also ran cross country when I was in middle school.
Oh, so like the 2 miles and stuff?
6th and 7th grade, I think I was doing 1.5 miles.
Hell yeah.
I think my best time was like 11:10 or something.
No, then you give yourself less credit than most.
Well, I mean, I played soccer for 16 years, so.
Yeah. Well, no, because every
I
single
thought
time
soccer was the high school, more of the high school thing.
Well, don't the soccer and cross country seasons overlap?
Yeah, that's
They
why I
do.
didn't do cross country.
Yeah, well, that's fair. No, I was just saying because like your self-deprecating joke is always that you have like the least to say about running, but you did cross country in middle school. That counts.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
We ran twice a week, I think.
That's better than I was doing a couple weeks ago.
Oh, same.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
being said,
This
Shreyas,
month has been crazy.
Yeah.
I've been home for like a total of like 5 hours in the last 3 or 4 days.
Nice.
Jeez, why? Have you just been working out that hard?
No, I've just been at family's house and got a lot of excuse me, choking on this granola bar that I got. Just got a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of family.
The
Fair
popular
enough. It is
boy,
the holiday
too.
season.
You know, it's the 28th, so.
Yeah. It's yeah, I think Spencer already snuck in the self-deprecating joke of
Yeah.
you having friends and us not. So we'll get to the sad social life of distance runners soon enough. But I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm Shreyas. I am I provide the racial diversity on this podcast. That may be one joke too far, I don't know. But so I started running in middle school because my mom forced me to, and I was adamant that I was not going to play tennis like every other Indian kid in the neighborhood. So that ended up being my sport of choice because I was too short to be on the basketball team. I was a decent point guard, but I was too short. So then, yeah, I just kept going. Eventually, I got good at it. Like there was like the social aspect, and then I got good at it, and then I just kept rolling with it. So yeah, that's basically my story. I did cross country and track all through high school, and then I ran D3 for Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. And if any
That
of
is
you
a
figure out,
long-ass name.
yeah, if any of you figure out how to spell or even look that up just based off me saying it, I'd be impressed.
For lack of a better term, it's RPI.
Yes, for lack of a better term, it's RPI. Not to be confused with RIT, which is trash.
Big
But-
facts.
Yeah, and so yeah, I was part of the D3 scene, and now I just do whatever. As Tyler mentioned, I lift now because I'm lazy, but I'm trying to change that as I'm looking to run a marathon in July, which will be hopefully somewhere in the vicinity of 2:35. But yeah, that's basically me. I'll hand it off to Spence.
I'm Spencer Mahon. I did my Division III running at Baldwin Wallace, just south of Cleveland, Ohio. So I too was a part of the Division III scene. I, much like Shreyas, am catered to a long distance type of event. So marathon, half marathon, 10K. 5K, 10K was my specialty event in college. And I ended up being our top guy my senior year for the 10K, and I want to say I was the highest placer in school history in the past 8 years in the conference 10K my senior year.
Hell yeah.
So that's about the only quote unquote big point I guess I can carry into that. But my post-collegiate adventures have been, I would say, about as fruitful as my college adventures. To add, I was part of the highest placing team in about 2 decades while I was in college at BW. So those are probably the only 2 merits I have to my college name. 70:42 and a half and 2:31:21 in the full marathon are just 2 of my post-collegiate ventures.
Hell yeah.
And I'm shooting to do my hometown marathon, the Cleveland Marathon, in May. So in about 4 or 5 months' time. That's the goal, and hopefully that's in the neighborhood of 220 to 223.
Because you've run 71, right? And then you did Columbus.
Yeah, I ran 70:42, then did Columbus 22 days after.
You still did well.
Yeah, that was a quick turnaround, but I feel like I handled the quick turnaround very well at that point in time. I just didn't pace it very smartly, but that's a rookie mistake, and you know, it happened, and I learned from it. So we're slowly building the bricks to what hopefully becomes a very nice looking house later on down the line, for metaphorical terms, I guess you can say.
Oh, so you used the bricks in the house instead of the hay in the barn.
Yeah, well, that's kind of been what I've used with my coaches lately. I just say another really solid brick in the build today, or something along those lines. That's just kind of what I've been using this cycle, and I mean, for that, like, for what it's worth, it's been working the past 3 or 4 weeks, so I'm gonna stick with it.
Okay, so I guess my general running background, my first experience with competitive running was in middle school in 7th grade track and field, and at that time, I guess I don't have like a great memory of middle school track, especially in 7th grade, but I think my main goal in 7th grade was probably to make the 4x4 squad, and I never quite did that. My first track race ever was a 400, an open 400, and I think I ran 76. So humble beginnings there. And then by the end of the year, I didn't make the 4x4. I ended up trying to break 6 in the mile. My very last race ran 6 flat 0.1, so couldn't quite do that. And then the next year, 8th grade middle school track, I got a lot better due to puberty mostly. I wasn't really like training hard, but PRs improved from like probably 245 or so in the 800 to 218. 1600 improved from 6 flat to 512. And then going into high school, I had actually played soccer all of my life up to that point, and as we were talking about, or I guess I kind of blew it because we already
No,
recorded
it's fine.
some of
I'll just dub it over. You can go
no,
ahead.
Narrator. He did not.
It's no big deal. But anyways, the soccer season falls in line with the cross country season, and I wanted to keep playing soccer. So going into high school, I figured I wanted to be a soccer athlete and run track, distance and track. And then so I wasn't doing cross country my freshman year, and I was just a JV soccer player, wasn't very good. And one day, varsity had a tournament and JV practice was canceled. Some of the cross country guys convinced me to go out to the cross country practice that day, and pretty much right away, I knew like that's where I was meant to be. So I didn't quit soccer right away. I did finish out the season, but I started putting less effort into soccer practice. I mean, our coaches didn't really care about the JV kids anyway, so they didn't care if we were really messing around or anything. So just kind of
Relatable.
go through the motions at the soccer practice, and then I'd go put in 4 miles or so after soccer practice, and ended up making the varsity squad, kind of worked my way up the ladder as a freshman, dual sport athlete, and ended up being like getting up to our number 2 guy, almost beating our number 1 guy at the state meet. And then ever since then, I've never looked back, just been a year-round runner. Slowly got into the running culture over high school years, and went on to run at a Division II university, Central Missouri, which competes in the MIAA. And I was just kind of an average runner in the conference. Finally, in my 5th year, I kind of got myself to where I could make a pretty good impact at the track level, finally at my last outdoor conference meet. And graduated in May 2015, and just been running post-collegiately ever since.
Jeez. So I know you did that solo marathon. Do you have any interest in doing a real one anytime soon?
Not really anytime soon. Mainly just because there's no rush. I mean, my main goal with the marathon is ever since college, my goal has been to qualify for the Olympic trials. Very long-term goal, not something that I'm really like directly working towards every single season, every single day, but just long-term, that's kind of what I want to do. And now that my window to realistically qualify has really closed, I mean, it closed a few months ago well, probably more than that, probably more like a year ago when I was dealing with injuries and stuff. I probably knew I couldn't get myself to a fitness to have a realistic shot of qualifying. So it just kind of got put on the back burner, and I love doing the track stuff anyways. And it really, the solo marathon really opened my eyes and humbled me with what the marathon really feels like, and how much you have to endure in the last several miles. But
oh, it does not feel good.
No, not at all.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the following days after, it was very similar to my Houston half marathon. Like, the post-race soreness was very similar. Like, I was sore for about a week after the half marathon and the marathon. But as far as during, I never felt anywhere near the pain during the half marathon than I did during the marathon. So not really in a rush to do a marathon anytime soon, but I mean, it could happen in the next year, but definitely not in the next 6 months.
That's the thing with marathon running. I was prepared for it, but at the same time, I wasn't. And when I was talking about the race, how I really split, I had a major positive split. It was 71-16 and 80-05. I got to halfway and I told myself, I just feel okay. And like, that was the moment that I knew where I screwed up pretty good. I'm like, I probably don't want to be feeling just okay at halfway.
That's kind of my exact feelings as well. That's 13 miles in. Like, I figured I could maintain that pace for quite a bit longer, but just knowing, like, just hearing stories from everybody, you kind of want to feel like you're jogging for a long time in the marathon. And I definitely didn't feel like I was jogging. It felt easy, but not as easy as it should have felt, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought I was fit for somewhere in the neighborhood of 225. The problem that I think I had, now that I've like analyzed my entire buildup, and I've noted that my half marathon PR came on a very hard half marathon course in Akron, which is, for people who don't know that area very well, the course, the first 15K or so, goes through some neighborhoods in West Akron, and it is very hilly. It's enough to very much break your rhythm at about 15K. They have a hill called Heart Rate Hill, where if you run this race too quick, you're really gonna feel it that last like 6K or so. And I was like jogging up that hill. I'm like, oh God, I just hope I can survive at this point. But I mean, I got off that little 15K loop, and it becomes a lot flatter once you get off that 15K loop. And I was able to jump back on it and hang on for the last 3 and some odd miles. I feel like I kind of overshot my peak, if you guys know what I mean. Like, you have like an idea for a peak race, and I was thinking that my cycle for a peak race was going to end sometime late September or like the first or second week of October. And then my coach recommended that I do Columbus, which is closer to the end of October. And obviously, looking back, hindsight sees 2020. I feel like I overshot that peak by about 2 or 3 weeks.
As in, like, overtrained, or just didn't time it right?
I didn't time it right. That's kind of what I was getting at. I didn't time that peak right. I peaked at like late September, first week of October, instead of like the second or third. I feel like that has something to do with it too, because in college, when we would peak for conference and regionals and stuff like that, I mean, I was still doing like anywhere from 60 to 70 miles a week when we were supposed to have our peak races. And I always had like great races off of higher mileage than most people. When I was getting ready for the marathon, the progression was like 75, 60, 40, or 45. up to the marathon, and I thought to myself, this might be a little bit too much. I might feel too fresh.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I feel like I just mistimed my peak, and I'm kind of doing this winter like a hybrid season where I mix the track and the roads, like a lot of half marathoners would do. So maybe that'll help me kind of reset, and then when I start my marathon training cycle eventually, maybe this time I can time it right, because I still think I'm very, very capable of that 220 to like 224 window. I just need everything to go right.
I mean, you're doing some good training right now, so I think you got it.
Yeah, why don't we talk about training while we're at it?
I think we're actually going to skip training because we want to get most of this done with Ben, plus we can kind of do that ourselves, and Ben has his videos, obviously.
That's true.
So with Tyler, if Tyler is not muted, hopefully.
I'm
Tyler,
not.
Yay. Then then I figure we'll, like, after all this, we can just go to, like, the conversation with Ben before, because, like, it's the serious stuff that people would probably want to hear. And then I figure we can do all, like, the fun shit now while Tyler's still around before we do maybe some serious stuff again.
Oh, I did have a question for Ben, actually.
Shoot.
So you said that the window to qualify has passed for you?
Well, not
This cycle.
Did you mean
not
for
the
this
exact
cycle?
window, but like my window, I guess. You know, there's like I could still, if I went to Houston, you know, there's still technically I could still qualify, but I just didn't have enough time to get fit enough to be able to qualify.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure that you weren't not
You were like insinuating
you
retirement
were gonna
or
stop
whatever.
trying.
No, not at all.
Okay, cool. Because we're looking forward to seeing you there in 2024.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I'll do my best.
Well, you could get there in 2028 too, so you got time.
Yeah, no, I mean this.
Look at Peter Bronco.
Yeah, this sport, like the marathon especially, you can, if you take care of your body well enough, you can do it for a long time. And really, your physical peak isn't until your early 30s, maybe for marathoners, I'd say. But you could definitely stretch that into your late 30s, and even if you're some kind of a legend or something like Bernard Lagat, you can be running at 43 or 44.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Ben. I was gonna say
Yep.
something about Lagat.
I mean, I think he's pretty much the staple for anyone who wants to still be running after they're like 30,
That's true.
or running competitively at least. All right,
So
so
is that
Tyler,
your-
oh, never mind. Go ahead.
So is that your best goal that you got, like qualify, or you got other
Yeah.
stuff that you want to do?
I mean, there's definitely other stuff that I want to do, but if I qualified for the Olympic trials, like I would say that pretty much fulfilled everything I want to do with my running career. Well, not everything, but the biggest thing. But of course, if I actually did it, you know, things don't just stop there. You want to keep going, and I would, if I actually made it to the trial someday, the goal would then to be like, obviously, there's no realistic shot of being top 3. Have to be an astronomical improvement to even be considered for that. But just to be somebody that shows up at the trials and people say, hey, he raced pretty well, that'd be good enough for me at the Olympic trials. But on the track, I've got a lot of unfinished business on the track. The main one on the track is I'd like to run sub 30 in the 10K someday. So I kind of work backwards from there and figure out what do I need to be able to run for 5K and 1500. And basically it works out to be, I'd like to be sub 30 in the 10K, around 14:35-ish in the 5K, and under 4 in the 1500 would be fun. But
I was gonna say you've run in the 1440s for 5K, haven't you?
I mean that's the main goal for this spring. My PR is 14:53, but that's unofficial, and I hate having to explain that. So my main goal this spring is to run under 14:53, because in an official race I've run 14:56. My 14:53 came in my 5th year of college when I was out of cross country eligibility, but still had indoor and outdoor. So I finished my cross country season. I raced most of the cross country season and finished with a couple time trials. Ran 4:23 in the 1600, and then less than a week later ran 14:53 in the 5K, and that was pretty much solo. I had a guy take me through 1K. So I was just really, really fit and motivated back then, but I really need to get under 14:53. So when people ask me for my 5K PR, I don't have to explain that, because I don't like just saying 14:53 and leaving it at that. You know, I always have to be explain what I did and everything. You know, I don't really count it as an official PB because it was a time trial, but you know, my coach was there timing me and everything.
I mean, it wasn't a video.
No, that wasn't a video. That was
I think that was the 14:56 recap.
Yeah, there's I guess my main video, like the first one when I was chasing the official sub 15, that was when I ran 14:57 at KU relays, and then I went on to run 14:56 indoors in my Houston half build up. So the 14:53 that I ran, that was actually before the YouTube days.
Ah, okay, that makes more sense.
All right, Houston Tyler. Half build up, I think that was probably one of my favorite series to follow.
It's just been tough. It's been tough following that up because I was so good, and it was like almost perfect as far as the training goes and everything. And I only got sick for a couple days. That was the only thing that messed me up. I just had to switch some workouts around, but just the fact that I dealt with injuries for that after, you know, for over a year, been very, very inconsistent. I've been struggling to stay patient to get back to that kind of fitness because it's just taking a long time, but trying to be patient and get there.
I don't know. I mean, well, what about like, because I saw, I mean, this is just out of left field. I'm just jumping into it, but I recently, because I was like gonna fake doing like a deep dive set of research, and then I realized you only had 101 videos up, and then I saw the Ben Barrow's other stuff. Is that gonna make a comeback? Are your guitar covers coming back?
Oh, maybe. It's possible, but I don't know. I kind of had this thought in my mind for like where you asked me about like the different passions and stuff, and I mean that's one thing that just kind of comes and goes, and I just kind of do it as I please. Like I may be into it for a couple months and then not touch my guitar for a year after that. So it's just kind of whenever I get the itching to do something like that, I will. But usually when my running's going pretty well and you know I'm taking that pretty seriously, I'm not really into anything else. I just want to run and chill, and I put all my effort into that. But yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, what is like, especially because I know you very specifically aren't dedicated to the content in the sense that it like dominates your schedule, but like what is that like what's a day in the life like if you have like a big video you need to edit?
Oh, I mean the editing is not a big deal at all. Usually I can like one that I just did, the 2K repeats, I crank that video editing out in like an hour, so I don't usually have to put too much effort into that. But usually the bigger ones may take a little longer. But
what do you use to streamline the process, because it looks like high quality editing? Yeah,
I mean I've been doing it for a while now. You know, I guess 100 videos isn't a ton, but just when it's the same type of video most of the time, then just kind of figure out the most efficient way to do everything, and yeah, you can get things done pretty quickly.
100 videos is more or less enough to know like how to streamline everything, at least I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, I don't, for a while in the beginning stages there was a little bit of a learning curve where I'd have to really figure out how to use everything and Adobe Premiere Pro and how everything works. But so basically like every video I made early on, I'd try to figure out one or two things new to do to make the quality up a little better. But nowadays I don't really try to figure out new stuff all the time. It's just if I have an idea that comes to mind, then I'll try to do something new. But for the most part, it's just stuff that I've done before, so I can get it done pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the 125-mile week. What was that whole thing like?
Okay, so basically that was, well, let's see. That was like my last year at Central Missouri, which was the winter. That was just starting 2017, I think. And that's just kind of the beginning of my YouTube days as a running YouTuber, I guess. I've had YouTube channels longer than that, and just have always had a general interest in making videos. So now eventually I just wanted to tie in like my interest for making videos into running. And there's actually I've got some footage from the week before that 125 mile week. And I've thought about making an old, like just throwing those clips together, just like seeing this is before the official Ben Barrows YouTube channel. But when I went back and looked at those clips, like it's on a really old video camera that I used throughout high school for stuff, and the quality is not very good, and it's really, really cringy. Even if you go back and look at the 125 mile a week video, you could tell I'm not nearly as comfortable talking to the camera, and just kind of awkward. I mean, not that I'm not still awkward, but I'm less awkward now. But basically I did a trial week of a big mileage week. It wasn't quite 125 miles or anything. I think it was still around 100 miles in a week. And then started putting that video together and decided I'm not going to upload this. And then I actually got a nicer camera. And then that's when the 125 mile week came to fruition. And it was kind of I don't know. It was an idea of just a personal project. And I was thinking like maybe make a weekly training recap like that. But after I saw how much work it was to really try to detail every run of the week, that was just completely exhausting. Doing those week-long videos takes a lot of work and effort, and it takes away from the running a little bit, because I just want to focus more on the running if I can. So the challenge with that was really trying to figure out if I was going to do this as a weekly thing. One, this distance running thing is super repetitive, so it's going to be like every week is almost the same, just minor nuances and differences in training. And two, the actual like recording of it, if you're doing everything on your own for the most part, is pretty challenging. So those are the two challenges that I had to get by and figure out how to deal with those the best way possible. But it was I just kind of threw it all together, and that's what started it all, I guess. And then I got hurt at the end of that week, so then I was on a short little hiatus after that video, but eventually came back.
That was probably one of my favorite videos to watch, because at the time, I want to say that was winter break of my senior year at Baldwin-Wallace, and I was gearing up to run around 90 or 100 miles for like the second time ever, and I'm like, I wonder what it really is like to run more than what I've done, because I thought that I could do like 105 or 110, and I was like kind of prepping myself for what that would feel like. So I jumped into one of those like YouTube rabbit holes to like, what's it like running 110, 120, 130 miles a week. And that's when I saw that video, and I'm like, this seems like something I'd watch. And then I just kept coming back because I was so enthralled to see where you would go with your training.
Yeah, that one, I could go back and look at that video, and I was, even though I got hurt at the end of it, I felt so much younger at that time, and like I was more invincible than I am now. But just some of the things
I feel like that's a thing with younger athletes.
Yeah. So I look at some of the things that I did in that video. Like, I tried to imagine myself, I did a workout that morning of a meet, and then I go back out later that night after the meet and get in my double like past midnight. And now, of course, the meets that we host here at Pitt State are quite large. They're over 12-hour work days on your feet. Like, we'll get in at 8 a.m. and some of these meets won't be done. We won't be done cleaning up until 10 or 11 p.m. And I'm trashed enough like the next day after this, let alone right after, trying to run again. So just some of that stuff I look back on and it was stupid, but it's whatever. It was fun at the time, I guess. And well, maybe not fun, but
I mean, it was entertaining enough.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Tyler, you got something?
What, like a question?
Well, yeah, a question, or I mean, just anything, because we're just going with the flow right now, and then we'll just put it together after.
Well, Ben got me on a. Spencer just was talking about how he found Ben. Ben got me on a 5K training tips video, which I'm sure he's gotten tons of people who have no idea what they're doing on.
Did it work? Is that what you copied?
Well, a little bit. I also don't really run, so that
Well,
doesn't
Tyler's
help.
all about getting swole, so
Yeah, Ben, you should upload a lifting video that Tyler can follow.
Yeah.
Or maybe Tyler should do it because Tyler's the lifter here.
Shreyas, you're I think still lifting more than me somehow.
Maybe running specific wise, but sure, I don't know. So I was just wondering, because like you were talking about how like it's a time commitment to record every day with like the camera. Like, what do you use? Like, because I've always been curious because I find it very impressive how you record with your iPhone on long runs, and you still have incredible stability in your videos. Because my shoulder gives out like 30 seconds in, and then like all of like the camera tripod stuff, like I just feel like that must be such a process to make sure it's in the right place all the time. So I was just wondering what it's actually like to record these runs.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm out on a run, the iPhone thing, it's not super difficult. I guess I just have a knack for keeping my arm still while I'm running, I guess. But I mean, it's more annoying than anything. It's like sometimes when I'm running and I'm trying to get it to start recording, it won't start recording until the camera is stable, and it's really hard to do that while I'm still running. So sometimes I'll push the record button and it won't actually start recording for like 30 or 45 seconds, or maybe I'll have to actually stop and let it stabilize and then start recording. So that's probably the most annoying thing with the phone.
Wait, do you use like a third-party app or?
No, I just use my camera.
I was gonna say I think the iPhone camera app actually does that.
Oh, I was unaware.
Yeah, so that's annoying. But then when I'm doing like a workout or something on a loop, the tripod and setting the camera up, that's easy enough. Because even with short rest, like I was taking for the 2Ks yesterday, just a minute 20, like I'm not doing jogging rest or anything, just walking around, so I can just quickly move the tripod somewhere and make sure my start and finish line is in the frame and get ready to run again. So it's not super scientific process or anything, just something you just learn as you go, and you can get it done pretty quickly.
Tyler, I know you normally head the funny questions segment. You want to take that? Why is he always muted?
Sorry, no, I was actually I had to mute myself because I was like moving around and making
No,
noise.
I get it. All right, take away our meme segment, King.
Okay, so you want me to ask him the questions?
Obviously. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, these are the questions you ask every time, so I think it's very important.
All right. Well, first I'd like to ask Ben, what is your favorite pizza?
Hands down, the best pizza that I've ever had was when I was in Gunnison, Colorado, a couple summers ago. My parents actually came to visit me for a couple days while I was there, and we went up to Crested Butte, which is actually where Emma Coburn is from, and that's where they're like Joe Boschard and that group trains and everything. They train in Crested Butte and Gunnison. And there's this place in Crested Butte called Secret Stash Pizza, and the pizza was just amazing. Like the crust was huge but really light, and it wasn't like super heavy, but it's really fluffy on the edge. So it looks like it's a lot of crust, but it's not too much. But then the actual pizza that I had there was called the Pinhead Pesto, which was like a pesto sauce, mozzarella cheese. I think it had shrimp on it, artichoke hearts, roasted red peppers, and sun-dried tomatoes. And that was hands down the best pizza I've ever had.
So no pineapple?
No pineapple.
What's your
Okay, good.
stance? What's your stance on that?
Oh, I don't know. It's not a big deal. You could put all kinds of stuff on pizza. So if people like pineapple on their pizza, so be it. But,
Well, do you personally prefer it?
no, like I could, if I had a Hawaiian pizza, like I could eat it and have no problem with it. But if I'm gonna go get a pizza, it's not gonna have pineapple on it.
Spencer, you said good, and I'm about to throw hands with you.
Why, you like pineapple on pizza?
Hell yes, dude. Pineapple and jalapenos are the way to go.
Oh no.
Oh no. No.
Wait,
Okay,
am
well,
I the odd one out,
maybe.
Tyler?
Yeah, no, you're right. Pineapple and jalapenos are good. Pineapple and bacon is good. Any other time, I would even say pineapple with like regular sauce is pretty bad.
Yeah,
kinda
if you're just doing pineapple, like I agree that it might not work, but I feel like the idea of it is to introduce like a contrasting flavor palette.
Sure, but I don't really want a sweet pizza most of the time. Which is why I hate barbecue sauce base for pizzas.
You do. That's pretty much what I get normally. It's barbecue sauce based with jalapenos and pineapple.
I usually go with either Alfredo or garlic sauce.
Barbecue can work on pizza for sure.
Yeah, but the garlic sauce sounds tempting because that Papa John's garlic butter sauce.
Ooh.
That's some good stuff right there.
You know it's a different garlic sauce that they put on the pizza, right?
Yeah, but still. I just needed to point that out because you pointed out that you were having that garlic butter sauce, so it just reminded me of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, because I sent you the picture 2 days ago.
Yeah. That was good stuff.
Ooh,
all right,
two pizzas just for me.
I guess I have one question here, just because I know Tyler's been very vocal about this, so I very specifically want to hear his opinion too. Is Daniel from the Discord noted that you've been wearing half tights in a lot of your runs recently? So I was wondering, so like I want to just hash out the half tights, short shorts debate, and Tyler, why don't you start? Because you have been vocal about this before.
Well, I feel like there's a certain speed you have to be going to wear half tights. That's really all I got on that.
What is it?
That?
You got to establish it, man.
Is it like 259 kilometer pace or something?
It really completely depends on how much swag you got. If you're like Jacob Ingebrigtsen, you can do it in like at 5K pace, but any slower than that, I feel like it should be illegal.
I guess we'll just jump to the Ben contrast then.
So mine isn't a speed thing with it. It's more of a weather thing, and basically it's I guess it's just been a coincidence that I've been wearing the half tights lately, because it's just been this in between temperature where it's not too cold or where it's not cold enough to wear full tights, but it's not warm enough that I'm like completely certain that my little guy's not going to get too cold while I'm running. So just provides an extra layer for the little guy to keep him warm.
I think that's Spencer's ideology too.
It's a mix of both, actually. I mean, I've worn half tights during a half marathon. I wore not full tights. Well, half tights during the full, I should say, when I ran my first full. But it was also like mid upper 40s when the full marathon came around. So that one I think was more of a weather choice. For the half, it was more of a speed choice, because that was a hillier course, and I'm just trying to save my legs as much as I can, because I knew I was going to turn around and run a marathon in 22 days after that half. So I'm like, let's do everything I can to save my leg muscles so I can go out and give this full marathon my best effort. So I guess it's a mix of 2 or 3 different ideologies for me.
That's fair enough. I would agree mostly with that, but also I think my default answer is the weather one. But I had a follow-up to that, which was there's a certain man who, as far as I know, because I've looked, does not wear half tights at all, and he's hailed in the Discord as kind of a legend. JP Running.
JP Running.
This man does not wear half tights at all.
Alas or go home.
Yeah.
Get that man in some half tights.
Yeah, so I think
Somebody.
from now on we're not allowed to wear half tights because he's officially in the Discord. Although he hasn't interacted yet, so Ben, you got to do something about that.
I mean, he doesn't wear a shirt either, so there's snow on the ground. That dude's out doing hill sprints with short shorts, no shirt, and everything, and he's just grinding every day.
This is true. I mean, he is wearing a beanie in some of them.
Some of them, not all of them.
Yeah. So I think, we gotta. So I think now the new rule is you have to be in short shorts and shirtless all the time.
Fine with me, as long as it's not half tights. Well, I mean, the thing is, because I have a strange view of half tights, because nobody I ever knew wore half tights, and if it was cold enough to have like worn half tights but not like full tights, I would do compression shorts underneath shorts, if that makes any sense. Because I was so used to that from soccer that that would keep me warm enough.
See, that's just blasphemy in the distance running world, though. You don't wear your compression shorts under your running shorts.
Well, I would wear them under soccer shorts.
Yeah.
Aren't
those
those
don't have
basically
a
the same
liner.
thing?
No, they don't have a liner.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an important distinction, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're running in the soccer shorts, then that's acceptable. But if you're running, you might as well be wearing running shorts.
It's kind of like wearing 2-in-1, like tight shorts.
Yeah.
I have a couple pairs of those too, so I guess I just haven't gotten on the half-tight bandwagon because I have those.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. How did you find JP running anyways, Ben?
I was just in the little search discover feed in Instagram. Like every time it'd pop up, and I just like see that every single one, he was just in full stride, freaking knee drive and shoulder, and his entire body is tensed up. So, and then I just clicked on his page, and every single picture pretty much is like that, and it was I just found it kind of comical.
How many followers does he have?
I've got no idea. I think it's several thousand, if I remember right.
It's very high up there.
I gotta start doing this then.
Yeah, you need to stay or have someone taking videos of you running.
Get the numbers up.
Generally, it's even no matter what he does for the training that day. Like he'll talk about maybe he did a 20K run in such and such time, but it's always a picture of him sprinting every time.
Oh yeah, he has 10K followers. How many do you have, Ben?
Oh, I got a few 300 or so.
Aren't you approaching like a milestone subscriber-wise though?
Yeah, I'm getting close to 10K subs on YouTube.
Yeah.
But, Instagram is
250
not really
left.
my deal.
You've only got 250. That's not that far off. What do you think? Probably by like February or so. Like, what are the analytics like for your channel?
It kind of depends on how often I'm uploading, and sometimes even when I'm uploading pretty often, the channel's not growing very fast. But when I get a video like the marathon video took off a little bit, there was an influx of subs that day, and but I would say a standard month would be maybe gaining like 300 subs in a month. So maybe here before a month hits, another month I'll be at 10K.
That'll be sick. Do you have any like special plans for that, or is that going to be the Tracksmith video?
No, the Tracksmith video will probably just be separate. I'll probably have that uploaded before 10K, actually.
That'll be the one to get you over 10K.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I've been patiently waiting for that video to be uploaded.
I've got most of the commentary, or pretty much all of the commentary recorded for that, but I've just got to do all the skit stuff. I just didn't get around to doing that before I left for home, and then wanted to be around here to do it. So hopefully, maybe even tomorrow I can get that done. But I got to really refresh my mind. It's been so long since I recorded the commentary for it that I've got to get my mind back in the right mindset and figure out what I actually plan to do for all that.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be great. I know, because, Spence is the one that's going to be waiting for it because he actually consumes Tracksmith.
Hey guys, it's Spencer. While we have some time here in the podcast, I want to talk to you about a product that I've been using in my Gasparilla half marathon buildup, and it's called Science in Sport. It's the world's first purely isotonic sports gels, and I've used purely isotonic gels for my half and full marathon training in the past year that I have been marathon training. It is the easiest possible gel on your stomach, and Science in Sport gels are the gels that go down the easiest for me. They have 22 grams of fast-acting carbohydrates. My favorite flavor is Tutti Frutti. I just used it on a long run, which I posted a little bit about on Instagram, and it is the gel that got me through that long run, as I was very, very close to the wall. It is trusted by Liverpool Football Club in England, USA Triathlon, USA Cycling, and many more teams. And it is also trusted by Olympians like Chris Froome. You can visit the link in the show notes to check out SIS on the website. Before you hit the wall, hit back with Science in Sport products.
All right. So well, Tyler, you got another question. Come on, hop in here. I want you involved before you head out.
So Ben, do you listen to any podcasts?
No, not really.
What kind of media is like your normal consumption then?
I mean, really, if I've got anything on the background, it might just be music or maybe like a YouTube video playing in the background. But other than that, nothing really. Not really a podcast guy. The only one that I've really listened to has been this one. Just it's nice learning about the familiar faces in the Discord and everything. Discord's a fun place to be. The only other podcast that I've listened to has been like the Science of Running. I can't remember exactly what it's called. The Steve Magnus and John Marcus podcast. And I only listened to it for a little bit. I've listened to a few different podcasts. It was mainly just because there's a lot of John Marcus hate going around on like Let's Run and people talking bad about him. So I went and checked it out, and I'm just not really a fan of like Steve Magnus is okay. Like I respect him. He's knows his stuff. But John Marcus, I think he's just kind of riding the coattails of Steve Magnus, and he's kind of a goon. So other than that, never really listened to podcasts.
I know we have our honorary 1609 shout out every single time.
I was gonna say that, but I decided to hold it in.
Oh no, I think that's very important.
So Ben, what do you do on your long runs then? Do you just not listen to anything?
No, I just go run. My main thing for listening to stuff while running is primarily for safety. I mean, like it matters for me because I'm running out on dirt roads with hardly any traffic most of the time. But I mean, especially if you run through the city, I feel like you should be aware of your surroundings, and part of that is being able to hear what's going on around you. So, but the other thing, I'm just kind of a purist. I just like to run without music or anything and just listen to my footsteps, I guess, for 17 miles like this morning. So.
Speaking of purists, you also like the Timex watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is that a personal choice? What's your stance on the GPS thing?
I mainly I like the Timex is real old school, and I like just being old school. Like all this stuff in the past worked for athletes back then. So, I mean, I think that's you could obviously make it work now with old school technology. And my biggest thing with the GPS is that it kind of takes away from thinking about like how you're running instead of what you're running. Or I guess you want to be thinking about how you're running instead of what you're running. So there's too many temptations with the GPS watch. Even if like I hear people say, well, just put a piece of tape over it or make it to where your fields aren't showing your instantaneous pace. But when it comes down to it, there's always a temptation to crank a last mile or just see how fast you can do an easy run, just because you can always go back and look at that data later. So with the Timex, there's basically none of that. So for a lot of my easy runs or recovery runs, I don't even start my watch. I just have mapped out routes to where I know how much mileage I'm getting for the run. But then if you truly don't have any idea of like how fast you're going to run, then there's absolutely no temptation to push it past like a recovery pace or an easy pace. So you're just completely focused on how you're running and how you're feeling. So that's my big thing with the Timex. And plus I'm also a math guy. So I just like doing math while I'm running. So like if I'm doing stuff on the track, just calculate splits in my head while I'm running, or out at the mile section dirt roads, calculate things mile by mile if I'm watching pace. So yeah, really big fan of the Timex.
So you don't put your easy runs on Strava?
No, I don't put anything on Strava. I'm against Strava.
He thinks all Stravaans are hooligans.
That's perfect. You don't have to like show off to anybody then. You can just keep everything the way you want. I mean,
I log all my stuff still on Running to Win, and people follow me on there.
I was going to say, you're a Running to Win guy, aren't you?
Yeah, Running to Win. I just like the mantra of it a lot more, and I like the layout and interface. If I want to go back and view training in the past, I think it's a lot easier to do on Running to Win. And
oh yeah, it's almost impossible on Strava.
One of the biggest things with Strava is just that there's a kudos feature. You shouldn't be able to. I don't know. Yeah. I think that just adds in temptation to push training harder than you should.
I always look at that as kind of a joke.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure some people do out there, but there are some people out there that legitimately would probably think about that stuff and probably affects their training because of it. So just not really a fan. If you can completely get by all that stuff and don't let it affect you, then that's fine. It's fine as a training log, but I'm just not really into it.
I guess, I mean, I think we should get off the topic of purism and go straight to asking who's your runner crush.
See, I was thinking about this, and I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one and just not answer it, just because. Just hear me out here. Like most people listening to this probably know me as the YouTube runner dude, but you know, the fact is I'm also a college coach, and I was trying to think about any other college coach out there, and if I'm listening to them do a podcast and they answer,
no, that's reasonable.
Who is their runner crush?
Who takes your favorite pictures?
JP running, of course.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, I think that's established. So okay, I guess instead of going runner crush, then we'll go like runner inspiration. Why not?
Let's see.
And while I understand JP running's the default, I'm looking for a secondary answer.
I mean, my like main running inspiration throughout college was just like a teammate. He was a really good teammate. He lived really close to me back in high school, just like neighbor towns. We lived 20 minutes apart, and he's 2 years older than me. We didn't really, I wouldn't say we were in the same races a lot, but we never really raced each. He was that much better than me. And then in college, he was kind of the one that reached out to me, was kind of the first recruiting effort, I guess, for them to get me at Central Missouri. And just being somebody that I looked up to, I really took that pretty seriously and found that it was a place that I wanted to be. And so really my main running inspiration was just this regular dude who ended up running, like, I think his PRs in college were 14:18, 29:57. He wasn't quite a D2 All-American, but I think he was 9th place indoors one year. But yeah, he just did everything right and was really competitive. He was a really, really good competitor and showed up when it counts and was really big for the team and everything. And he also has a pretty rich running tradition in his family. His mom was actually a D2 national champion back in the early 80s, mid 80s, something like that. And then his uncle, his name was actually Mark Kerp, or is Mark Kerp, who was the half marathon world record holder at one time. And I probably set that in the 80s in Philadelphia at some point. It was 60-43, I want to say, something like that. That was kind of before the East Africans burst onto the scene. And so yeah, it was just cool having, like, you know, I could hear stories about this previous half marathon world record holder, and that's Ryan Hall went on to break his American record eventually. But and then I guess past college, if we're talking more professionals that I look up to, I would say Chris Derrick and Nick Willis are two of the main guys. I just feel like they're two guys that really do things right. And
yeah, Nick Willis is one of mine.
Yeah, I think they're, you know, if I had to bet on anybody being clean in professional running, like, those are the two guys that I would probably bet on the mostly Nick Willis, I would say. I don't know. That's just kind of my gut instinct. But,
yeah.
Nick is a good dude. He's a really good dude. I've gotten to watch him twice because the 2 years that Cleveland had a road mile, so 18 and 19, he's been the champion for it. And he ran 3:59 both times. That was so much fun too. And you know the like phrase, you never forget your first sub 4. Those were my first 2 sub 4s.
Oh, like watching?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to point out I was also at both of those.
Nice. There's your sub 4. I mean,
it was really fun.
What is it like? Did you guys get to meet him, or?
Yeah. Talk to him after, because like half the people there don't know who he is, so he'll just talk to whoever comes up to him, because like almost nobody was.
Wow, that's so cool. I see, that's the issue. Like that, there aren't that many, like, because Seattle's still fairly large, because you have like the UW invite and stuff. So like when professional runners do come through, it's pretty hard to actually get to interact with them unless they're Seattleites by nature, like most of the Brooks Beasts team. But still, that's pretty wild.
Here's kind of a fun story, I guess, from seeing my first sub 4 mile. I think it's still the only sub 4 mile I've seen, probably, off the top of my head. But I watched Alan Webb run sub 4 at KU Relays in probably the spring of 2010, I want to say.
Oh my god.
The thing was, though, it just looked so anticlimactic. Like, it didn't look that hard. Like, it was just an even split, just ran 60s all the way around and kicked it in just a little bit the last 400 and ran like 359 point. Just made it look really, really easy. So it wasn't really like that cool. It didn't look cool. Like, I would rather see somebody like digging and giving everything they have to break 4.
Yeah.
Because, this is a guy that had run 346 a few years prior. So running 359 isn't that crazy for him. But that was kind of past his prime a little bit. So he's never back at that 346 level. But then on the topic of Alan Webb, this past summer when I was at USA's, I actually ran into him in the crowd and started talking to him a little bit. He's coaching at University of Arkansas Little Rock now. And so that's not too far from Pittsburgh, Kansas here in Southeast Kansas, probably just a few hours away. And started talking to him a little bit and invited him to some of our indoor meets. And I actually checked their schedule and they've got it on there. So it's kind of cool that
they've got like he's coming.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, nothing's ever set on these track and field schedules. Some schools just put them up on their schedule just like as a possible meet they might go to. But yeah, I let them know like, hey, we have a 300-meter indoor track. We're pretty close to you. I think it'd be a good place for you all to run. And he said he's not like the head track and field coach. He's the head distance guy. But he said like, yeah, our schedule's probably set at this point in time, but I'll talk to our coach back home and see what we can do, see if we can get it on the schedule. And several weeks ago, I checked the schedule and they had one of our Pitt State meets on there. So hopefully we'll get to see Alan Webb here in several weeks.
That is so unbelievably sick.
I think you win this story.
Yeah, because we had one.
You got to talk to the American record.
Yeah, because we had like this whole conversation like a couple podcasts back where it was like celebrity like runner people that we've met, and I thought I took the dub then, but no, I think you've taken the cake right there. That's so unbelievable. Like I feel like that's definitely the pinnacle of like celebrity meets in the running world, at least like in America at least.
Well, I can give you one more from USA as well. That was kind of funny. Not near the running credentials as Alan Webb, but everybody's all about the 10-minute elite nowadays. Yeah. And so this was on Saturday at USA's, and we were just chilling in the stands watching the races, and we looked behind us and we noticed that some of the 10-man guys are sitting behind us. And of course, everybody saw it. Like if you watched my little USA recaps video, you saw that I was talking to Joey Baggs in that video, but basically like I was nervous as hell. Like the guys that I was with, they were egging me on to go talk to these guys just because, why not? And so eventually I finally get the courage. There was this look. It was, what's his name? It was Pat Joseph. He like walked to the stairs next to us and I made eye contact with him. And like, I'm going to sound like I'm full of myself now with this, but basically like I've grown to learn that there's this look that people give you. When you make eye contact, you can tell when they're thinking like, I know who you are. Yeah. Just known as the YouTube runner dude or whatever. It happens all the time at track meets, cross country meets that I'm at. Usually there's just a couple people that come up and talk to me and introduce themselves. But that eye contact that I made with Pat Joseph, I was talking to the guys next to me. I was like, that was the look. He knows who I am. And so shortly after that, I went up and talked to the few 10-man guys that were sitting up there. And I started off introducing myself and talking to them a bit. And they started introducing themselves. And I was like, yeah, I already know who all of you are. And then Pat Joseph was like, yeah, we know who you are too. And so.
Oh, man.
Okay. I'm done. I could walk away.
Yeah, I'm clipping that in at the end where we just all exit the chat.
So I mean, I'm sure like from their perspective, I'm probably just like a scrub or whatever, but they probably make fun of me when they're off on their own and everything. But that was kind of neat, I guess.
Well, I mean, you definitely have, at least in terms of like the YouTube running scene, there are few people that I watch that are engaging, admittedly, and I mean, this is a little bit of ego stroking for you too, but like it's just a matter of like your content is very direct and it gets the job done. It's exactly what it needs to be, and that's about it. And like that's pretty much all I care about watching, because at this point most other running commentary is just 8 minutes of like
Somebody sitting in a van.
yes, and then 2 minutes of like actual running that's extremely cropped and edited with music in the background.
Yeah, that's kind of what I try to portray in my video. Like I want to be a channel where guys that are much faster than me can still enjoy watching. Like I want to be able to try to portray the runner lifestyle, and just that the fact that you can be as serious as you want to be about it while still not. Obviously, there are talent levels in this sport, and not everybody's destined to be a 13 flat 5K runner, no matter how hard you work. But I just want people to be able to see like, hey, this guy's putting everything he can into it, and he's trying to be the best he can be. So I do everything I can to try to portray that in my videos.
That's impressive. I think. Well, I had one because you were talking about being a coach, where it was just. Because I think this is the one thing where it's like, while people are curious about YouTube, I think, especially for perhaps Spencer as well, is like, how is the process to get into being an assistant coach at the collegiate level? Because obviously the credentials are much higher than I feel like high school, where they might just take an alumni and like stick them on the assistant coach.
Yeah, it's all about just like paying your dues and working your way up the ladder. Sometimes some people have gotten really lucky and they're just in the right place at the right time, and they can get into coaching a really good coaching gig really quickly. But for me, it started off as being a volunteer coach at the university that I graduated from. I was helping out at Central Missouri for 2 more years, and it was a crazy situation because my head coach there had a stroke like 2 weeks into the cross country season. That was my first year volunteering, so I was actually like no longer volunteer. They had to find somebody to take over, and it wasn't like I was getting like full-time pay or anything, but I was still getting paid very little. But they did figure that some probably need to pay me a little bit to coach, take over a bunch of the duties and stuff. But yeah, I mean, ever since then it's been pretty much the same, just being an assistant coach, and just I'm in no rush to work my way up. Like I said, it's all about paying your dues and kind of start at the level that you want to coach at. So I'm pretty comfortable at the D2 level and everything. And my only coaching change has been shifting to another school within the conference, just trying to see a different perspective. And over the past couple of years, I've started to get more looks, like when somebody's looking for a coach, like what I heard early on in coaching was, if the first time that you hear about the job opening is yourself like seeing the posting, it's probably too late and you're not going to get the job, because they're already like seeking out somebody for the job. Yeah. So I've gotten to the point where, like, again, I'm going to try to sound full of myself, but people have reached out to me like asking me if I'm interested in position and everything. And while I do want to coach college track, that's what I want to do with my career. I'm in no rush to be like a head coach or anything, so I'm just kind of chill with what I'm doing right now.
No, that's...
Hey guys, it's me, the editor here, Shreyas. Sorry for the terrible audio quality here, but I just wanted to take some time during the podcast to talk about Artiken. I'm currently a brand ambassador for Artiken, and in fact so is Spencer. Both of our referral links are in the description. Artiken, if you haven't heard, is a company that creates these custom-made, very specially designed Kenyan bracelets that you may have seen on the wrists of runners, such as those from Tinman Elite, like Morgan Pearson, Paul Chalimo, Lopez Lamong, so on and so forth. And basically, these bracelets are just kind of a nice fashion statement, but at the same time, what the company does is they take 10% of their net profits and put it towards clean water nonprofits in Kenya. And in Kenya especially, clean water is something that's in dire need, so it's a very great cause to help. Plus, as the company expands and they're more successful, they're able to provide more jobs to Kenyans who may not have any. So you both have the clean water benefits and you have the ability to improve the workforce in the area. So overall, it's just a great cause to get some nice ice on your wrist while you're running. They have a lot of really cool designs, so definitely go ahead and check it out. I think you'll be really interested in what they have to offer. Back to the podcast.
But
I mean, I'm pretty sure we can jump into like the whole thing of like Jim Walmsley, like the running question news, like list
Yeah.
of the decade and whatnot. I feel like that'd be something we could do.
I mean, I
Just
had
like
two.
something brief.
Yeah, I had two that I wanted to kick off because I mean, we kind of talked about the YouTube stuff. Unless if Ben is willing to talk a little bit on a critique or appreciation of the YouTube running scene a bit more.
Let's see.
Because I understand, because like you said with the runner crush thing, I figured there's obviously a sense of like obligation you have to be responsible and maintain an image.
Yeah, professional and everything. That's like, again, on that, I was basically any coach, like even if you're thinking like, I'm pretty sure Ben Rosario, the coach of NAZ Elite, is married, but if he's on a podcast and if he's a single dude, that still kind of comes off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even like I don't know, what was I gonna say, just as I don't know, as a single dude, like of course I find women attractive, and I was a college runner, and these professional runners now that are the same age as me is still just, I'm just trying to put myself in a perspective of a listener and thinking like, well, that's kind of creepy. So
yeah, no, that's entirely fair. So obviously whatever you're willing to say. If not, and obviously I can just clip this entire bit out if you don't really have much.
I mean, the kind of the other running YouTubers out there, I've honestly like kind of lost interest a little bit, just because it's really hard to be a serious running YouTuber. I do kind of take pride in the fact that this running YouTube thing was an original idea. Like, not very many people out there existed before me. I know Sage Canaday has been around forever. He's probably the original running YouTuber, but I had never even heard of him before I got this whole idea and then actually uploaded a video. Like I heard about him long after I started my YouTube channel. So kind of proud that the idea is completely original, but it's just kind of hard for others. Putting myself in a college runner's shoes, like I'm amazed that Spencer Brown is able to do everything that he can with his YouTube channel, just because me as a college coach, thinking about if one of my athletes was doing this stuff at practice, like there's a certain level of privacy that you want to have on your team, as far as like what you're doing in training, and people can see things in videos, like strategies that you have, as far as like, oh well, kind of getting like inside info, like that guy wasn't running that day, maybe he's hurt or something. So I'm just amazed that he has the flexibility to do whatever he wants with his YouTube channel, pretty much, and document races and workouts all the time. And so me as a college runner, like that never even crossed my mind. This was a completely original idea post college, and this is not something that I would do as a college runner, just because I think it takes away from the focus a little bit. Just when you got other teammates counting on you and you're counting on them and everything, I just think staying distraction free is the smartest thing to do. But I still appreciate a guy like Spencer Brown out there who is obviously putting what he can into sport and wants to continue to run professionally. He's developed a really strong fan base that certainly helps his marketability for becoming a professional athlete. There's kind of this line of where you have Instagram runners out there that they're not fast at all, but they make a living off of this just because they have so many followers and stuff. And to make a living off of your running alone, like you either have to be really, really fast, or you have to have a really big social media following. And those two lines can adjust, and kind of like it's kind of a sliding scale. Like if you're on the Spencer Brown level, maybe he's not fast enough to get like a huge running contract or anything, but he's got enough of a social media following that's probably more important, honestly, because in reality in this sport, like the most important thing as a professional runner is to market the brand, and they want to sell shoes.
I was just gonna say, if he signs with a brand like Hoka and runs for NJNY, which I have my own suspicions about, like that's perfect, because him and Sage, with Sage Canaday being a Hoka sponsored ultra athlete and having the social media following that Sage does, like it's almost like this perfect storm.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from.
And I mean, Spencer Brown is fast, and he's got the following as well. So like he's somehow managed to blend it almost seamlessly, and he's done phenomenally well. Because I believe he's like a 359 miler.
Yep.
Yeah.
359 and 339 in the 1500, I believe.
Yeah,
He's a very
and
fast boy.
I was gonna say that's damn close to most people getting a professional running contract if there are guidelines. I don't even know what those would be. I've tried looking that up on Let's Run just for kicks, just to see if like there are any like set standards, but there's really not.
No, I mean, it kind of depends on the training group and the level of contract that you're getting. I mean, if you're talking like the highest level of contract, like the Bowerman Track Club, Nike, past Nike Oregon project, like you've got to be the best of the best, like NCAA champion, multi-time All-American. And you know, that's pretty rare, but I mean, you don't have to be super fast. There are a lot of local running groups that have certain standards where if you hit this standard, like they'll pay for you to travel to big meets, or they'll give you some gear and everything. And then certain levels, maybe they'll just pay your entry fees. But there are other groups out there, like, I don't know, Zap Fitness. I feel like maybe they actually got unsponsored not too long ago. That's just one that comes to my mind. Like
They were Reebok, I think.
yeah, they have standards that are actually like attainable for the average Joe. Oh, maybe not the average Joe, but more attainable than the stuff like the Bowerman Track Club. And they'll do stuff for, like, if you hit a certain standard, you'll maybe they'll provide housing for you, or maybe access to their dining hall. But you know, other than that, like, there's not a ton out there. You have to search, but there are opportunities out there for normal runners that are the non D1 All-Americans.
Yeah. It's a really, I think, especially because now like the NCAA rules have changed, right? So
Yeah,
I think
they've changed, and they're, I think, gonna adopt that like in 2020 or 2021 or something like that.
hmm
See, I think the problem that I have with the YouTube running thing now, and this is nothing against Zach Levitt, but he's just a perfect example of his channel made it big in the beginning because, like I was saying, it's just hard to do this as a collegiate runner and like show insight to your team and your training, just because of the whole privacy thing. But as soon as somebody comes out there that is actually doing this and is like, you know, he was nowhere near the level of like competing really well at D1 and everything, but he was just a good runner in general. And people got to see the insight of a D1 program, whether or not that's an ultimate D1 program or not, that doesn't matter, but they got to see the insight to what it's actually like. And I think the problem that has is the younger generation, like the high school kids, they see that and they see them getting like tons of subs and everything, and you know, they want to do that, they want to go D1, they want to make money off of YouTube, and I just kind of think it takes away from what they should really be focusing on in the sport and just being the best they can be. And I think that's what's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much spot on. There's a guy that I guess I can say I personally know because he runs with a buddy of mine down at Akron, Chase Easterling. He does, well, during the season, more or less meet vlogs, but like he's still been gaining a decent amount of traction, and I feel like it's more or less like the insight from Chase himself of what his D1 program is like, and he's somehow found a way to balance it very, very well. And I feel like there are people out there that can balance that, so I feel like that's something that needs to be out there. There are people that can balance it and do it right in some ways.
Yeah,
I feel like they're
absolutely.
kind of far and few between, though.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I know who Chase is, and I like his channel. He's actually like commented on some of my stuff and said, like, you know, I guess I was kind of an inspiration for him for starting his channel, and he does a lot of his stuff in the same format that I do. But he's one that you can really tell when you watch his videos, like he's not letting any of the videos take away from his running. He's completely focused on the running, and he's a guy that you look at and you say, okay, he's not going to be a college dropout in another year.
Yeah.
With Zach Levitt, I could kind of see that coming from a mile away after the whole Ryan Trahan thing. I just had this gut feeling that it was going to happen eventually, and what do you know, it did. So yeah, I mean, Ryan Trahan was also one of the original running YouTubers that he was the first example of being like a good runner, but not a great D1 runner or anything. And then people just getting to see the insight of Texas A&M, and then as soon as he left, Zach Levitt pops up, and then all of his fan base migrates over to Zach Levitt. And now that Zach Levitt's doing what he's doing, not getting the same kind of content that everybody came for, like I feel like they're trying to find somewhere else to migrate to, but there's just not really out there.
I mean, there's Spencer Brown, but he's not going to be a college dropout because he graduates in the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. He's another one that's doing it right and making sure it doesn't take away from his running.
It's just such a process, I feel like, especially because I know, like, one of the things that we've discussed, which isn't, like, too out there, is, like, the idea that, because you mentioned how you felt that recording everything was putting a hindrance on making the YouTube come first before the running. So It's like, we always talk about how, like, in the video, like, they'll do their jog or whatever and then talk to the camera in between reps, and they're basically just giving themselves more rest and then changing the, like, end result of the workout or the purpose of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a thing I struggled with. I mean, not a ton, but just like yesterday's workout, I only had 1:20. So I talked between a couple of the reps, but just sometimes you kind of lose track of how long you're talking. And after my first rep, I was talking to the camera a little bit, and then I quickly set it up and, find out that I have 10 seconds left to get to the line and start again. So I just kind of have to hurry, but you just have to make sure you get it done right and not take 2 extra minutes rest on anything just for the sake of talking to the camera.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess, I mean, as an extension of, unless Spence, you have something else, I was just going to ask, is there ever going to be like a Ben Barrows meetup, like as an extension of the YouTube stuff?
I can't really foresee that in the near future. I'm sure it'd happen like eventually, but I don't know. That's not really my kind of thing. I don't know. I don't see myself as having that big of a following to where if I just show up someplace, like maybe there'll be like a couple people in the area that would want to meet me, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, even like a run of like people in your area, but I guess, I mean, beyond like your athletes or your high school, it'd be hard for you to figure those people out.
Yeah, I mean, if I did one, I'd imagine it'd have to be up in the Kansas City area. I mean, that's just the biggest area. That's where I'm originally from, is that area, and I guess that's the greatest chance of having people around that would actually want to meet me, I guess. But I don't know. I just don't see myself as some big celebrity. That it just seems kind of weird scheduling a meetup just for people to meet me. Like, I'm just a regular dude. So it's more just like, if you happen to be in the same place and, say hi, that's great. Like, if
that's plenty fine for you.
If I'm doing a race up in Kansas City, like, I'll try to make people aware of it and they can show up if they want to, or maybe they're planning to do it in the first place. But I don't know. Yeah, just scheduling a meetup in itself is not really something I foresee happening anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like that's definitely not the kind of YouTuber you are, really, because you're the runner first. So,
and plus, I mean, I'm just naturally like very introverted and just kind of keep to myself when I'm not at practice, at work, and everything. So it's just, I'm not the kind of guy that schedules hangouts with anybody, even like my friends. Like, it's usually, if I'm going somewhere, it's because like they're inviting me or something. So for me to schedule something with random people,
loneliness of a long distance runner. I mean,
I walk a lonely road.
The only one that I have ever known. Oh god, that's a good song.
Yeah, I was gonna say that should keep going.
With the loneliness thing, like I wouldn't, I don't consider myself lonely at all. I say just because you're alone doesn't mean you're lonely.
Yeah.
Certain people just need different amounts of social interaction, and I pretty much get everything that I need at practice and at work. So when I get away from that, like that's that's often like even more than I need. So like I just like to chill out and recharge the batteries, as
Yeah, that's fair.
introverts do.
That's definitely a thing.
I use that kind of as more of a joke because I feel like sometimes I lead a couple of different lifestyles with my line of work and the people that I have aligned myself with outside of work being my friends and my teammates from college. Because a lot of the people that I work with know music or know sports, like the three major North American sports of baseball, basketball, and football. So with some people like that, I don't have like the liberty to just like, you know, say, hey, I did this and this is the specifics of this. Like they'd be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Like there are a few people that get it. There are a few people that get it at the sports station I work at. But outside of those few people, not many people are going to understand it. They're going to understand that I'm the skinny runner dude and like that's all that you really need to know.
Yeah, that's the extent of it.
Yeah, and I mean like like I could say I ran 2 miles today and they'd be like, dude, kudos to you. I wouldn't even make it a half mile.
Oh yeah, I love the entire doesn't that hurt your knees, and I haven't run that much in my whole life.
Yeah, that's a very common thing that I get.
Yeah. That's a classic. And you run more than me, so you probably get annoyed with it far more than I do.
I enjoy it. It's kind of funny.
I mean, it's funny for sure, but I feel like there's the line between where it's funny and where they're trying too hard to make it funny themselves, and it just comes off as like mildly antagonistic or like as though they're poking fun at you.
No,
I don't know. It's like this weird. It's like this weird distinction. I feel like that exists.
I mean, it does exist, but like I don't get it from those people.
Yeah. Okay, that's
if
fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll explain it to like some of the people that I work with, and they're like, "Dude, that's fucking incredible. Kudos to you."
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't necessarily get annoyed with it because the other thing that like I've also done, at least to kind of compensate, is I'll put it in layman's terms. Like I'll say I did 10 by 1K at...
That's layman's terms?
Well, 1 kilometer is a commonly understood distance, and I'll usually say I did 10 by 1K or 2.5 laps of an outdoor track in such and such a time. And like that's enough to get by.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like I have to explicitly like lay out like what I did, or I could say I just did like an easy 4 miler today or something like that, and usually they'll get like, oh, that's 7 to 7:30 pace, something like that. So like it's hard for me to like feel like I'm antagonized over that because I lay it out in such a way to where people who understand the 3 major North American sports can understand it.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's fair. As long as they get, because it's definitely like you have to communicate it properly, and I don't know, I feel like, especially because like Ben, you're surrounded by a lot of runners, right? So like for you don't really have to do that as much, I assume.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody that I interact with on a daily basis, it's all people that are familiar with track and field. If not distance runners, they are still familiar with what us distance runners do because they're other athletes on the team. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Sometimes back home, I guess if I go visit back home, some people may be like, I get that same kind of stuff. Like, how do you run that much? Or maybe I remember funny ones from back in the day. Like if I'd be doing hill repeats back home, I'd be doing like 10 times 600 meter uphill or something. And there'd be somebody sitting out on their porch the entire time that I'd be running. And eventually when I go down one of the times, they'd be like, "Man, I'm just getting tired watching you run," and
Yeah.
little jokes like that and everything. But yeah, I don't deal with it too much.
I think it's a blessing, probably.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like not having to deal with it, I feel like is a blessing in itself. It's a curse when you do have to deal with it.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, like there are people who understand the three major North American sports, but understand running enough.
Yeah, that's true.
When I lay it out, so it can be a blessing when I meet someone who understands like the football, basketball, baseball, that vaguely understand like the idea of long distance running.
Mhm.
And most of the people that I work with like also understand that the marathon is a very popular thing. So if I say, oh, I did 2:31, which is like 5:45 a mile, like I can say that and boom, 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 they understand that. It's very easy.
That's convenient for you.
Yeah,
I'm
and
happy you have that ability.
But I mean, I feel like with marathon running, that's you don't have to do it, but that's a very understandable distance, at least in terms of the numbers and stats.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'd agree with that.
Because I don't know if I've told this story. This is probably one of my favorite stories to tell from my actual job. So
yeah, I don't think you talk about your job that much. Just go for it.
So there's a night show that airs more during the off season of football on the sports station that is in my conglomerate. And I'm also going to preface this with I work for a conglomerate. I work in corporate radio, I guess you can say.
Okay.
So this is just one of the 4 stations that I was working for. I was working the evening show. It's right after afternoon drive, and it's called Chico After Dark. This was the first time that I met Chico, and usually the air studio gets cold because there's a vent right above where the board operator sits, which is where I was. And I had my Letterman jacket, which I wear pretty much everywhere from fall to spring. And I had that sitting on the back of the chair, and I only had like a dry fit short sleeve shirt, and I was starting to get a little bit cold. So I threw on my letter jacket, and Chico and I are making small talk, and I told him, yeah, I ran 4 years in college. I lettered in all 3 seasons for 2 sports. And I had to give the indoor and outdoor track distinction. And then I told him I recently, because this was about a month or so after I ran the Columbus Marathon. I'm like, yeah, I just ran the Columbus Marathon like 3.5 weeks ago. And he's like, nice. What time did you finish that in? And I'm like, usually when people ask that question, I get very hesitant to say what I ran, not because like it was a bad result or anything, but like I just don't want to humble brag at the same time.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah.
And then I'm like, and he's like, come on, say it. Like, and I'm like, okay, I ran 2:31:21 at Columbus, and he's like, holy fucking shit, dude, you're like one of those Kenyans, man.
Yeah, I feel like the disparity of because like to us, there's a huge disparity between like someone who runs sub 3 and someone who runs sub 250, 240, so on. But then to everyone else, like it's all the same level of holy shit.
Yeah, and then like we were laughing and joking about it for a couple minutes, and I told him I knew the 2 Kenyans that went 1-2 and they ran 2:15, and he's like, holy shit, we got to talk about this on the air. And keep in mind, this is the first time that I've ever met this guy. I've only known him for about 3 hours at this point.
Yeah.
And here I am. It's my first night board opping like a local show on this station. And he comes back and we play the rejoin and all this stuff. And I bring him back, and he's like, yeah, me and the board op Spencer Mahon, who's doing a great job so far. We're talking off the air, and he just casually throws out that he just ran like a 2:30 something marathon, and then it was at that
You get the
point
nice
he's like,
humble brag.
he's like, at that point he said, yeah, you can turn on your mic, come on, let's go. I'm like, okay. and the only other time I was like this was one of my first few holy shit moments in radio. The first one was the first time that I ever did a format shift on air my freshman year of college. The second one is when I called an NCAA tournament game my senior year. The third one is the first time that I've ever been on air for more than like a few thousand people. There's like tens of thousands of people listening from Menor to Akron to fucking like Elyria, Sandusky, out that way. It's like this is broadcast to the majority of the north coast of Ohio. And like that was my holy shit moment. This is really happening. I'm talking about running on a radio show where we only focus on the three major sports.
That is pretty sick, yeah.
And we got away with talking about it for most of that whole like 13 or 14 minute segment. Like 7 or 8 minutes was just dedicated to running. And there was a guy who called in from Phoenix, Arizona, and Chico said, yeah, there's this guy who sometimes calls the show, and he's always running when he calls the show. And right as he's saying that whole like line, a phone line lights up, and we bring this guy on, and it's exactly that guy. I'm like, wow. This is fucking awesome.
That's extreme. That's weirdly surreal.
It was weirdly surreal, and like from that moment on, like Chico, like he's had like some of my highest respect, because that was like the first time I board opped a local show, and pretty much like my first night doing not syndicated stuff, and he brings me on the air and we humble brag about me for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's nice. So you actually have the radio clout here. Ben has YouTube clout, and
I don't have radio clout. I've only been on the air a couple of times.
Yeah, it was a joke, but sure.
But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, that said, I think I don't know if Ben's ever noted, because I know I brought it up in the Discord when it first happened, but I don't know if you've ever brought up your own YouTube videos, Spence, in the Discord.
I don't think I have.
Yeah, Ben, have you seen any of Spencer's stuff?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, okay,
Of course
yeah.
he has. Oh god.
It's fine. We both have a level of quality we need to meet, and Ben can give us criticism accordingly.
I mean,
you've linked some of your videos in the Discord and everything, so just throw those on while I'm stretching or something. That's
nice. Did you like my latest one where I'm wearing your long sleeve?
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, there it is. Gotta rep the merch. I feel like if I just put that in the thumbnail, then I'm guaranteed to get at least 3 random views that are not from the Discord.
Now, the real best running YouTuber out there right now is Mike.
Oh yeah, we have to shout out our boy Mike the runner. He has some of the best tips and tricks to like really get good. Like I definitely think he must be like a Lydiard level coach or something. So yeah, that's just too. I mean, speaking of shout outs, actually, I did want to say this. A guy that's recently entered the Discord, his name's Dalton, and he has threatened me in my position of being like the scientific physiological dude in there when it comes to running mechanics. And that said, I'm saying he's threatened my position, and that said, I can definitely learn from the kid because he knows a lot. But yeah, he is considering starting his own podcast, of which name he has not decided, but it will also be running related. So we just like to shout it out. And yeah, I mean, we should have already, given that he's technically supposed to be episode 9, but I'll just cut this, I guess, based on whenever this goes up. That's the issue with record. See, this is such a weird, like, interesting insight into like how people must record podcasts when they try and like schedule it with like big people. and like make sure it's at the right time. Like they have to know what has been said or what's going to be said and so on.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's interesting.
All right. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Unattached podcast. I believe this was episode 10. I want to thank Ben for joining us. This has been an awesome episode.
Very
so that
insightful.
being said, yeah, very insightful. That being said, I'm Spencer Mahon.
I'm Shreyas Sriram.
And I'm Tyler Bowman.
And we'll catch you guys in the next mile.
I didn't copy the 1609 podcast this time, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks. The PPP. Yeah.
Finger
yeah.
guns.
I gotta go get ready for work. So
All right,
hopefully we
adios,
can
amigo.
have you on again at some point.
I think that was to you, Ben.
Wait, sorry, what?
I said hopefully we can have you again on at some point in the
Oh
near
yeah,
future.
absolutely. That'd be cool. That's I don't know, maybe sometime in the summer or something. As soon as school starts back up, I'm super busy all the time, but
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, good luck with the track season.
Yeah, man, keep doing you. I'll keep enjoying the pod.
I'll try. Have a good one, guys.
Adios,
good.
man. All right, do you got anything more? Because I think, that pretty much addresses it. Because everything else, if Ben actually has any hot takes that risk his professional image, he can do them post-show once this guy's out of here.
Yeah, Craig.
Yeah, let's get Craig out. Well, first of all, Ben, I just want to make sure that we get it on air that we thank you for coming on. And also thank you for letting us, post about it in the
Interrogate you.
Discord. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no problem. It's like I said before, the Discord's a fun place to be. You got all kinds of personalities in there, and just whatever. If I can offer a platform to people to grow a little bit, then that's pretty cool. So yeah, it's fun being on, and glad to be here.
The highest of honors for the most wholesome running YouTuber around.
Big facts.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's get Craig out of here.